We've heard from US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. He warned that Iran could be a week away from having industrial-grade bomb-making material, again escalating concerns over Tehran's nuclear capabilities. Let's listen to him.
The president he gave Jared and I direction before we went over there. There were red lines, zero enrichment. We have to have the material back. You know, they say that it's all about their civil program, and yet they've been enriching well beyond the number that you need for civil nuclear. It's up to 60%. They're probably a week away from having industrial grade bomb making material, and that's really dangerous. So they can't have that. This is something that they have to stick with until they prove to us that they can behave.
Josh, I know we've spoken about the tensions between the US and Iran for some time now, but what do you make of what Steve Witkoff had to say there? Is this yet another sign that the US is another step closer to taking action?
So the first thing to say is that if you go back to last June, Gabriella, and the 12-day war culminating in Operation Midnight Hammer, the dropping of the B-2 hammers, there was a lot of debate as to just how far set back the Iranian nuclear program was. I will never forget Donald Trump saying, and this is kind of classic Trumpian braggadocio, that it's been entirely eliminated. There's no coming back from
obliterated.
this. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the actual assessment, when you actually looked at the intelligence community's assessment, was they said it was set back 3 to 5 years, maybe. I mean, it's a very rough estimate, obviously. But yes, I mean, we knew that there was fissile material, that there was highly enriched uranium that was not taken out in those various B-2 bombs last June. So no, I'm not surprised at all that this question is back on the table and back on the table so soon. It's probably a little sooner than I would have thought, to be honest with you, but it is here back on the table. Look, earlier today, the second aircraft carrier strike group, the USS Gerald Ford, arrived in the Eastern Mediterranean, where it's going to park for now. That is the world's largest aircraft carrier, like literally number one, not number two, number three. And that's a complement to the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already there in the region. Overall, this is the largest accumulation of American military might in one particular part of the world. Most folks are saying since the 2003 invasion to topple Saddam Hussein in Iraq. I would be flabbergasted at this point if nothing happened. It seems to me that that this is a lot of song and dance, a lot of kind of kabuki theater. We can kind of quibble and debate as to why exactly it's going on this long there. But at this point, after all this, after all the talk of the Red Line, all the boasting of the world's greatest armada since the 16th century Spanish Armada, or whatever it is Donald Trump's been saying there, he really has to follow through. Now, a quick caveat. If I were advising him, to be honest with you, this is not how I would have personally advised going about this process. I'm much more of a Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly, carry a big stick kind of guy. Donald Trump, again, the man of the braggadocio, that's not really how he rolls, to be honest with you. So he took a very different approach there. And Donald Trump hates Iran. There's a very important thing to remember here. He really hates Iran. In his very first speech down the escalator in Trump Tower in 2015, like his first speech announcing his campaign there, he said that we're not going to allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. He showed that he was serious about that last June, and I have absolutely no reason for doubting that he will be serious about that again this time, if need be, which I think is going to be the case.
Yeah, Alex, I would be very surprised if we don't see action. But Alex, what are the polls telling us about this? I know some Americans are quite divided over the issue. I mean, this is such a huge decision. What are the polls telling us? Does Donald Trump have the support to do this, or how will this impact him?
Well, he hasn't had preemptive support from polls historically. When you ask, we did prior to the 12-day war, if people supported various versions of getting involved. And in each case, people supported Israel getting involved. They supported the United States helping Israel by narrower margins, but really overwhelmingly opposed the U.S. getting involved directly. About this, I would expect that the numbers would say about the same. I haven't done any polling personally on it yet. We're about to. People don't want to go to war. Americans don't want to be at war. They do like getting the benefits of war without any of the costs. And so if Trump can deliver that, as he's done in a couple of circumstances, then people would be okay with that. That is perhaps what he's hoping to do. I would maybe push back on Josh on one thing, that he's got the biggest stick in town right now. He doesn't speak softly, like Teddy Roosevelt said. He speaks quite loudly and carries a big stick. But it is compelling. It is overwhelming. It looks very much like it's going to be used. And that's the point. And so if the Iranians believe him, and I hope that they do, then they'll come to the negotiating table. They're great negotiators. But if they don't, then I like Josh, also think that there is going to be some kind of action. And frankly, the comments by Witkoff with Iran getting close to getting a nuclear weapon, that's not necessary. They don't have to get to that level for the US to engage. But if they do, it'll make it much more likely that the US does engage, because they've proven over and over again that they're responsible. When they killed, most recently, I've seen numbers like 50,000 of their own people. I'm not sure that I believe those numbers because they're so extreme. But any regime willing to gun down its own civilians just for protesting is not one that should survive long term.
Yeah, and that's it too. I mean, freeing the Iranian people from this regime. We have to leave it there. Alex Tarascio, Cygnal Principal and Pollster, and of course Josh Hammer, Senior Editor at Large at Newsweek. Thank you both so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gabriella.
Thanks for having us.